Hi, and welcome to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation focused on youth mental health. Before we begin today's episode, I just wanted to let you all know that all content that is found in our podcast is created for informational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or therapy. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard in this podcast. Thank you so much, and without further ado, let's get started.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us again. This is your host, Punam, here with Sister Rini, and we do have a special guest with us today, Aishia, and she is going to inspire all of us with her parenting journey. Aishia, thank you so much for joining us today. Do introduce yourself and tell us more about you. Where are you joining us from? Your parenting journey, your day job, whatever you want to share.
Thank you so much. I am excited to be here and honored to share a bit about my journey, and it's an ongoing journey. So I am Iaishia Smith. I am based in New Jersey. I work at Cisco. I've been at Cisco for 11 years. I am a business operations manager, and I sit in the legal organization, helping to drive strategy and operations across our team. I also am very active in Cisco's inclusive community network. I serve as the global chair for the Cisco Diabetes Network and also as a chapter leader for the Connected Black Professionals inclusive community for the Northeast chapter, which includes New York, New Jersey, parts of Boston, and Delaware. So we have a big community. I'm very active in Women of Cisco, Tri-State, and I get to do the great work of connecting people. I am a connector naturally, and I love connecting people and building relationships. That's just something that comes natural to me. Uh, my most important job is being mom to my wonderful son, MJ, who is 6 years old, and he's really a blessing. I say often that I prayed for him, and he is my answered prayer. So I'm grateful that God given me the opportunity to be his mom. And even every day is different as a mom. Every day, some days are challenging. Some days are like, okay, I got this. But every day is a blessing because I'm grateful for him for him being in my life. The work that I get to do outside of Cisco is really around advocacy for moms and for infant babies. I have the pleasure of serving as a board member for March of Dimes, New York, New Jersey, and their work is really about advancing maternal health for moms and babies and giving babies a good start at life. And I spend a lot of time volunteering with March of Dimes, raising funds, raising awareness to support their cause so that moms have a great start to their families and families get to welcome their babies home. And we'll talk a little bit about my experience and why I got involved with March of Dimes. But the work that they do is so impactful and it really transforms lives.
Aisha, thank you so much for sharing more details about you. I'm amazed how many hats you're wearing. You're a mom, you're a community leader, you're a connector, and you are telling us the March of Dime organization. What I understand, they are doing a great community service. Tell us a little bit more about your role. How did you got introduced to that organization and why? And how you are making impact through your work in that community.
Yes. So March of Dimes is fantastic. The organization has been around for many years, hundreds of years. It started back, I believe, in the 40s, and they've done a lot of work and research around maternal health, infant health. And they really have put the funding that they receive for their organization to good use to support moms and babies and to help prevent some of the complications that we know that happen during pregnancy, and to give people access to great quality health and healthcare, because a lot of times people live in health deserts and they don't have access to good healthcare. And March of Dimes have mobile buses that actually come to different communities where there are health deserts where people don't have quick access to GYN services or OB services to support them during their pregnancy. And March of Dimes is there to support people. They do incredible work. I got heavily involved in March of Dimes after experiencing a tremendous loss. In 2017, I was working here at Cisco. My husband and I were expecting our first child. We were thrilled. And, unfortunately, at 9 months, 38 weeks, and 5 days pregnant, I suffered a stillbirth. It was devastating. I went to the doctor for my routine, normal doctor's appointment. I was getting ready to deliver. We were talking about, delivery dates and when we were going we were close to our due date. And when I got to the doctor, my OBGYN tried many times to listen to my daughter's heartbeat, and she was unable to find a heartbeat. And my husband and I, devastated. We were just absolutely devastated because we were all excited. My family was excited. My community was excited. My colleagues here at Cisco, they had a baby shower for me. We were all looking forward to welcoming my daughter, Savannah Grace. And then just an instant of being at the doctor and not being able to find her heartbeat changed everything. It really did. So from that experience, I had an emergency C-section because my health was at risk at that point. My daughter, they couldn't find a heartbeat. She had passed. My health was at risk. The doctor sent me in for an emergency C-section. And, she was delivered. She was beautiful. She was 8 pounds and 8 ounces. She had a head full of hair, just full lips. She was just everything we had dreamed and hoped for. The sad part is that we never got a chance to see her eyes because she was sleeping. And it was just devastating. There's no other way to describe it. It was a loss that we weren't expecting. And you just can't prepare for that type of loss and disappointment. And the thing that I struggled with for a long time was that I didn't know anybody that had lost a baby at 9 months. I didn't know one person, because you hear like, oh, once you get out of the first trimester, you're all good to go. And here I am at 38 weeks and 5 days. Women deliver their babies at 40 weeks. And my baby was not going home with us. And we were, I think about that day and I was shocked. I was just heartbroken. I was just devastated. I couldn't understand how could that be, because it was just, I just didn't expect it. And so my husband and I suffered that loss. I immediately remember calling my church, asking to speak to my pastor, and actually one of the pastors, the elders of my church, who was very actively involved in my husband and I. We went through premarital counseling before we got married, and this couple, elders and ministers in the church, led those sessions. And I remember speaking to him and calling him, and even my pastor's daughter. And I just said, please pray for me. Just please pray for my mind and my healing, because I was in such unfamiliar territory. I had never experienced anything like that. And it was only through the prayers and the support that I received from my church family, my mother, my grandmother, my husband, my community, that I was able to heal my heart a little bit in that experience. And then the other thing that I did, which was something hard to accept, is I went to counseling. Immediately, I knew that I needed to go to therapy to help get myself mentally and spiritually in a new place. I am genuinely a very optimistic person, sometimes too much, everyone always say, you're so optimistic. I always look at the bright side of things. I'm always looking at the positive, even when things look bad. I always try to there's always something that you can be grateful for, right? And so being true to myself, I wanted that back, but I was in such a dark place. I couldn't see one thing positive. I couldn't see one thing positive in this experience. And I knew that that was a dark place for me to be. And so I immediately went to counseling, and I told my counselor, I was like, I cannot even get past this. And through therapy, and I was in therapy for months, I cried in my shower for 6 months every day. Like, this is a nightmare. I can't believe this is happening to me. And I continued to go to church, and I continued to pray, and I continued to ask for prayer, and I continued to set time for myself so that mentally I had the space in the group and given myself grace to heal. I knew that I couldn't automatically just jump back into things because I wasn't myself. I didn't want to be around people. I felt the shame because, again, I didn't know anybody who had lost their baby at 9 months. And I will tell you, one of the reasons why I'm still at Cisco 11 years in is because of the people. And the people that I worked with during that time here at Cisco, I'm forever grateful for them. They held me, supported me. My manager at the time reached out to everybody and was like, Iaishia, had this situation happen. Please don't reach out to her. Give her her space. Give her her time to heal. That was the best thing for me at the time because I had the space to not answer everybody's question. What happened? Where are you? When you? And he was a shield for me. And then I had people, this one gentleman who he's such a special guy. When I was returning back to work because I took leave, and when I decided that I was going to return back to work, I reached out to him, and he and I sat next to each other in the office every day. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, I'm not sure if you heard, but, I lost my baby and I'm coming back to work and I'm nervous about it. And an hour later, he showed up at my house and he's like, I got your back. Nobody's going to ask you anything. Nobody's going to, you are going to be okay. I got you. And knowing him and his personality, I felt so much more comfortable returning back to work. And we sat next to each other, very close. So he saw me for 9 months carrying this baby, eating, I'm snacking, he's snacking. We were having these conversations, and he's, an older gentleman. He was older than me. His children were grown. And, I would ask him, like, how did you manage this? And we would have these conversations. So for me to have that support from him, just meant the work. And there were just so many people. My one colleague, who is a dear friend of mine, on my first day back, and she's based in California, she came to New Jersey. She's like, I don't want you to come back to work by yourself. Like, I'm in this with you. There's not a dollar amount there's not a price tag that you can put on that. How people showed up for me. And that village helped to make an experience that I was asking myself, should I quit? Everybody knows my story. When they see me, they're going to say, what happened to your baby? Let me see the baby pictures, and I was afraid of all of that. But people showed up for me in tremendous ways that I will be forever grateful for. And so around March of Dimes, I experienced this loss. I had already known about March of Dimes because Cisco had been partnering with them for years, doing walks and participating in sponsoring some of their walks. And then a friend of mine actually connected me with them and said, hey, you should come to this walk, this March of Dimes walk. And I came, and that first year I was just there walking, silently, just doing my thing. And during that walk, I started to hear stories about women who either had children in the NICU for 10 weeks, 13 weeks, children who were born with complications, moms who, like myself, suffered loss, whether it be at 9 months or 5 months, or had really challenging pregnancies. And I sort of found a community where I was no longer walking around in shame, that I was able to pick my head up and say, hey, this didn't happen to me. This was no fault of my own. This is happening to other women. And then I started to say, how do I get involved to, one, raise awareness so that women, if another woman goes through this, she understands that she's not alone. And then what do we do to prevent some of these things from happening, so women don't have to feel um, the weight of pregnancy and the challenges alone, that they know that there's organization, there are communities that's helping to advance some of the challenges that are well documented, that we understand that are happening, and to help them have successful pregnancies that don't have outcomes like my own. And so that's why I got involved. And I started with the march, and then I started volunteering, and then I became a captain of my own March of Dimes team. And then just through realizing that the work extends beyond, hey, can you make a donation to my team? It's like, there's a mom here that needs help or is going through the experience. Can you talk to her? Can you help her? That community really transforms lives. There's no other way to put it. They are really doing work to support moms and babies. And I said, I got to get involved. So this is next week, next Saturday is our March for Babies walk in New Jersey. This will be my 6th year doing it. And I serve on the executive board. We do planning and all of that stuff. But the march is so special because you get to get outside. We do it at the Meadowlands racetrack, and you are out there with babies who are just miracles, who were in the NICU for 10 weeks, 15 weeks, and they were fighters. And now they're walking the track with their parents, right? You're out there with moms like myself. I walk in honor of my daughter because I don't want her memory to fade. She's very real. I carried her 9 months. I wear a necklace that says Savannah Grace because she mattered. Her life mattered. And so that's why I get involved with March of Dimes. That's why I support other women. I know that everybody's parenting journey is different. I never would have imagined that I would have lost my daughter. And when I went to figure out, we were talking at the start of the call, we work in tech. When something breaks, you want to find out what is the root cause. How do we prevent this from happening? What are the issues? We want to debug that thing. We want to figure out. And I sort of went on that same journey, like what happened in my pregnancy that caused my daughter to be stillborn? And what can I do to prevent that? Because my husband and I still wanted to grow our family. And so I got to work. I went to work with a new medical team, found out what the challenges were in that pregnancy. And I just prayed for 20 months for a baby. And it felt like 20 years because every day I just wanted a baby. I wanted a baby. And I was just praying to God, and my life was great. I had a great job, my husband, we had a house, my life was great, but I was missing that piece of motherhood that I knew I wanted to be. And so 2019, August, my little baby, MJ, was born, and I am so grateful for him, my little rainbow baby. And I remind him all the time, Mommy prayed for you, so you need to be a good boy. So yeah, it's been a blessing. It really has been a blessing.
Aisha, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your powerful story. And I'm really sorry for the loss. And you mentioned you were at the dark place, but I think that dark place made you so strong and realized like your own potential. Now you're becoming light for others.
Thank you.
You're, yeah, and as you're saying, you're praying every day, you are counting your blessing. You have that attitude of gratitude, even though it took long for you to heal. And which generally, I mean, the loss you experienced, it's not easy what you went through. But you did everything right, asked for help, you had community to support you, pick you up, great colleagues, like you mentioned. Definitely, Cisco is a great place to work. And I can tell you that from my experience, I'm here 25 years.
Wow.
And still counting.
Mhm.
So, a lot of
Yes.
things were coming to my mind. Sister Rini, what would you say listening to Aisha's parenting journey? Anything came to your mind?
I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Aisha. No, I really found it very inspirational that Aisha did not bury her feelings or suppress her feelings, but she kind of allowed herself to feel those feelings and then share in a place where they would be understood and kind of given the right guidance to come to a place of being the beacon of light for everyone else also. So I find this does require a lot of courage also to be able to face the shame, the guilt, whatever is coming up without putting a veneer of it's okay, everything
Yes.
is just fine.
Yeah.
But actually really feeling it. This is the truth of this moment. I am feeling this.
Yes.
So what do? I need to help myself. And I think that in itself, this way, I mean, I'm sure Aisha is sharing her experience with other mothers who are probably in similar situation. Not sure whether they can share or not share, feeling that kind of hesitation.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Aisha can share more with us about how Aisha and her community is really helping the mothers and the infant. I mean, if the infant is born and turning into a child, coming on the march with the mothers. So kind of, as you said, physically also you are kind of doing all the research as to what happened, why it happened. And would you mind sharing with us that if there's anything on the spiritual level, are you preparing the mothers whilst the baby's still in the womb as to what are the measures you're taking as far as the communication between the mother and the child on the level of the spiritual communication where the child is coming to know that the infant, the baby in the womb is coming to know that you're always beyond harm. Nothing is hurting you. And kind of preparing the mother for that attitude, with that attitude. And when mother has that attitude, the baby's automatically receiving that attitude. And I'm sure you're doing something on that front from what little that I spoke to you before the interview. So if you don't mind sharing, that would be very beautiful as well for us, all of us to know.
Yes, absolutely. And I do believe that what you speak has so much power in what your reality is. And that's how I knew I needed to go to counseling, because I knew that I wasn't speaking the same language that I was accustomed to. And so when you ask about encouraging women, particularly as they're pregnant, that's something that I do often, because I always say, if you speak good things, you're open and welcoming good things. And so, one, you have to be taking care of yourself. And as moms, it's not always easy to take care of yourself because you're worried about all the other things and all the other people. But you have to put yourself first and speak goodness to yourself. I'm strong. I'm capable. I can do this. I have everything I need inside of me today to do what I have to do today. And once you start to welcome that type of language and that type of energy, what you're carrying will also feel that, right? And so that was so important. I share that with women today, and I also had to share that with myself during my pregnancy with my son, because I early on, when I found that I was pregnant, we were excited. We were like, yes, oh my goodness, this is great. And then doubt start to creep in real quick. Oh, he's not going to make it. Oh, it could be the same situation as his sister. I immediately started to speak over myself every day and say to myself, God is with me. God is for me. God is on my side. I have everything that I need to get through this pregnancy. I have a spirit of goodness and kindness. It's following me every day. I don't need to be afraid, because if I'm afraid, that doesn't produce goodness for me. Now I'm going in there, I'm unshaky, I'm uncertain. I went in to every appointment with my notes. I was prepared. I worked with my doctor at the time. We were partners. He had come to expect that I would have questions. Hey, I'm noticing this. Should I be concerned? He'd say, no, I don't think you should. When should I be concerned? It became a partnership. When should I come back to you for questions? And I'll just share with you. It turns out that I had gestational diabetes that was undetected, and that caused harm to my daughter. During my second pregnancy, I knew that I had a history of gestational diabetes from the first pregnancy. So I went into that pregnancy really careful. I signed up for the patient portal. I checked every result. Every time I went to the doctor and they were doing lab tests, I went and checked. And I noticed, and I'll share this with you, while I was pregnant with my son, at 15 weeks, I was preparing to go on a trip abroad, a work trip abroad. And right before the trip, I had gone to the doctor and they did, lab work. And I noticed that there was glucose in my urine. And I immediately called my doctor and I said, hey, I noticed that there's glucose. I got the lab report. He said, it wasn't my doctor. It was somebody that was working in his office, a partner of his. He said, oh, I wouldn't worry about it. This is normal during pregnancy for women to have glucose in their urine. I said, I understand that, but I would like to get it checked because of this history. And that's where you have to be your own advocate. You really have to advocate for what you need. Now, that could have, when I noticed it, that could have knocked me off my game. That could have set my spirit back, but I was determined. I said, no, I'm going to not approach this with fear or nervousness. I'm going to approach this with knowledge and wisdom, and I'm going to speak goodness. I'm going to get the information that I need so that this could be a good outcome for my child. And luckily I did. I pushed, I advocated for myself. I said, hey, can I go and get the gestational glucose test done now? And he said, we typically don't do that for women until about 25 weeks. And I said, well, listen, I would like to have the test done today. And thank goodness I did, because the results came back that my blood sugar was 300 after the test, which is sky high. Immediately, he started, was diagnosed with gestational diabetes, started treating me. I got medication. I worked with a nutritionist, was eating different foods to make sure that I had a healthy pregnancy. Had I not advocated for myself, I could have gone 10 more weeks without regulated blood sugars, which can cause issues for mom and baby. And through that time, I just continued to speak goodness over myself. You are strong. You are capable. You got this. God is with you. You have everything you need in this moment to be successful in this pregnancy. And I just continued to do that and I continued to go to therapy because I knew that I wanted to make myself as strong and as confident as I could in the pregnancy. And so I would get up in the morning, I would spend 15 minutes just in prayer and in silence with God so that I had a good relationship to start the day off. Because anything can creep in your mind. You can see something, an ad, a video that could make you feel or, change your shift. But when you are firm and you have a firm foundation in your belief and in your belief and in your values and what you're expecting in life, I believe it has a different outcome. And so I had to do that early on. And I tell women that today, if you're going through something and you're pregnant and you're concerned, spend that time reaffirming what you know to be true in your life. And that's what I had to do. And that's what got me through the whole pregnancy with my son.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Aishia, for again inspiring us again. Uh, because you as you were explaining, I also have the same belief. Like what I am thinking, speaking, you know, I'm spreading that in the universe. And when I was pregnant with my first one, I wish I knew that, but it was supposed to happen that way. I was not in positive spirit, and second time with my son, I was in positive spirit. So I saw the difference. What you shared, I absolutely believe in that. So you are doing great service to other women, telling your own stories, experiences. I'm sure they are learning from you. Sister Rini, would you like to add something more what you just heard from Aishia?
I found that Aisha is not only proactive at all levels, but at the same time, it's like you are teaching other mothers how to be the same. And it really sounds like you were your own doctor also. And both the spiritual counselor and the doctor for yourself. And I'm sure somewhat some of it has also kind of passed on to your son as well. And I personally strongly believe that this connection of the mother and the child, this bond is so sacred.
So sacred.
And so sacred. And in this sacred space of the womb of the mother, the baby receives everything that the mother thinks, the mother feels, the mother communicates. It's literally your thinking is directly communicating to the baby. And that is why when you're sharing that every day it was like sitting with yourself for 15 minutes and really feeling what you are thinking, that it is going to be this way. It is going to be successful. The child is going to be healthy. And it's like the child is receiving
Yes.
in the fetus. Yeah.
Yep.
And I find that this kind of education for the mothers is so important,
Yep.
so important. And one thing, if I may add, is I find that this aspect of we call it in India in the Hindu scriptures, it's called Garbh Sanskar,
Mm-hmm.
which means it's more like in the fetus, during the pregnancy, the child is receiving mother's emotional state,
Absolutely.
mother's mind is one with the child's mind. And so if the mother is feeling that my child is beyond ever being hurt, it's immortal, the spirit is immortal of my child, and that is how I feel that the spirit that I am is immortal, and so is this child's spirit, is same spirit and is immortal. And if I kind of really feel that for myself, I find that if I, the spirit, am beyond hurt, beyond harm, I know my child is receiving it.
Yes.
And that kind of, and I find that will also shape their emotional life when they come into existence. It will shape their, because I just find mother and child are one.
Yes, absolutely.
Literally. Yeah. And at physical level also we are kind of just one. It's just some miniature edition of the mother. And then at the physical level, when they are born, they come into existence. Yes, they have to assert their independence as they grow a little older, which is also very important for their growth. But I do find that even when my daughters today are 26 years old and 24 years old, I still feel that if I can really feel that my immortality, my indestructibility if I know that that which I am in essence, although my body can be destroyed, my thoughts can change, my feelings can change,
That's right.
but I, that which I am, cannot be destroyed. If I'm really feeling that, I somehow know that their sense of security is also coming from the place, because we are kind of connected to each other. And I'm sure, as you said, you feel that so strongly, right? So I do find that if I'm fearing for their life all the time, because my daughter travels to many dangerous places. She loves traveling to many dangerous places at all times. That is her. She just loves to see most exotic, unusual places, and they're not the safest places, right? And so I kind of, in the beginning, it used to kind of bother me, and I would feel fear for her life, and I would feel, what if I lose her, and I would feel a lot of these fears. But then, as the teachings taught us that that which you are cannot be harmed and cannot be hurt, and you're one spirit, appearing to be many different faces and bodies, but you're one spirit. And more you feel that for yourself, that I, that which I am, is beyond harm. My thoughts are changing, my body's changing, but I am not changing. I'm aware of the change, but I'm not changing. More I actually started feeling that, I found their behavior and their attitude somehow, somewhere does get impacted also.
Yes.
And if I was feeling fear, somehow they also kind of behave in such a way. Sometimes she would not tell me that she's going there because she felt that she was going to disturb my peace and make me feel insecure. But more I changed, I found that now she was feeling comfortable sharing with me that, you know what, Mom, I'm going there, but I know you'll be fine.
Yes.
Somehow she came to that place. And then it was like, okay, I know that you'll be sensible, not that you'll be
That's right.
reckless, not that you'll be reckless, be sensible. And then internally, I know nothing can happen to you.
That's right.
Then at one point, I think, Aisha, you mentioned that you feel your daughter's still with you.
Absolutely.
And you even wear her name around her neck, around
Yes.
your neck, right? And it's absolutely true. It's so true. It's just something instinctively, that the body may not be there, but the spirit is one.
It is there.
And she's always with me. And that is such an instinctive, such an beautiful motherly instinct that or a parental instinct that that no matter what happens, we are always one at the level of essence, and nothing can do us apart. Not even death can do us apart.
That's right. That's right. That's why I say, women, moms, incredible people, incredible
Absolutely.
beings. The strength that we carry,
Mm-hmm.
the connection to our children, and the willfulness to love. Like, even if your kid could have done something really bad, it doesn't even matter. There's nothing like a mother's love, because that connection, you carried that child, you grew that child. There is nothing like it. It's so powerful. It is unconditional. There is nothing that I wouldn't do, couldn't do for my child. And when you talk about the mind, it starts in your mind. It starts in how you show up for yourself and how you show up for your child. When you talked about how your child feels things, absolutely. I was so intentional during my pregnancy, as I said, to spend time speaking to myself. Speak to myself. Help my unbelief. Like, you know how some people, like, you have, like, if you, like you're saying, sometimes you get a little bit of fearful. You have to change your mind, and you have to say, I am strong. I have everything that I need. I am one. I am strong. I have the things that, And then once you start to feel that, your child will feel that. And that's the impact. That's the real impact of motherhood and being a mom. Now, I know that everybody's journey to motherhood or journey in motherhood is very different. But I do believe that bond is so strong. My son is like a Velcro child. Like sometimes I'm wondering, like, is he ever gonna be like, like not want to spend time with me? Or this guy is so attached to me. And I believe, and I mean, he's very close with my husband, with my husband too, his dad, but he's so close to me. And I believe that is because I spend so much time talking to him in the womb. I spent so much time. That's why I say all the time, I prayed for you. I prayed every day that God, and my thing was I want him to have 10 toes and 10 fingers and for him to be healthy and well. And I just believe that every day. And I wanted him to grow up and to have, I just spent so much time during those 38 weeks that I carried him, talking to him, praying for him, believing for him. And I remember at church, and not to get too spiritual here, but I remember when we dedicated him, it was like 3 months after he was born, we dedicated him back to Christ. And I remember my pastor lifting him up during a prayer. And he said to me and my husband and his godparents, he made it. And just that little thing, I will never forget it, because all I kept saying was, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. You're going to be here. I kept speaking that. And my pastor said that over him. And I just was like, all I could say is thank you. And what I do in my life, just as an individual, is I try to walk in gratitude and be grateful for the things that I have. There's so many things that's going wrong that you can figure 25 things to complain about. But there's something special when you can have gratitude and be grateful for the things that we have, the big things and the small things. And sometimes it's hard to find gratitude in the hard things. And that's why I went to counseling, because I was struggling to find gratitude in such a dark place. And once I spent time in counseling, and once I started to write things down and getting outside and seeing the sun and letting the sun touch my face, just spending time, just like you said, I could change my mind. And I was able to change my mind and realize that this was a terrible experience, losing my daughter. And this pain hurts. There are days, it's, been since 2017. There are days when I wake up and it feel like it had that experience at the doctor's office. And I'm like, oh my goodness. When her birthday comes, just around her birthday time, I start to feel sadness, right? When I go to school and I see little girls that'll be her age, I feel, oh my goodness, my daughter would have been, their age. Or I find myself going to a store and immediately go to the girls section, because I'm like, oh, I need to go to the boys section, because she's still with me, because I still carry her, and I still believe that even though that was a terrible experience and I miss her every day, there's some goodness coming out of it, because I'm allowing this painful experience to lead with purpose, to help other women avoid that, and families to avoid that devastating loss and those feelings of shame. I was a mess. I felt shame. I felt doubt. I was embarrassed. I couldn't, I was surprised. I just went through all of the things. And then through healing, right? Through spending that time with God, with reading, I was able, therapy, my family, my community, I was able to get to a better place.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Aisha, thank you so much for opening up your heart, sharing your inspiring story. I've learned so much listening to your story, that attitude of gratitude, having that belief God is on my side, helping others, right? And you said, yeah, the sun was always there. Maybe we forgot to look at the sun and
Yes.
experience that, right? But there was a village with you, your community, right? You did the right things, asking for help. I do know many people, they need help, but they are hesitant to ask. They think it's weakness to ask for help. But you did not do that. You rather, you are so strong. You, as we are saying, the experiences you went through, a courageous soul only can do that. And you are that light who is shining that light to others now, and you're doing great work. Thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you all the best in your parenting journey and otherwise also. Thank you so much again for joining us today.
No,
Take
thank you
care.
so much for your time. You are doing the work by bringing women together and sharing their stories and amplifying women's voices and giving them a place to learn, to connect, to grow, to understand. And it only happens when we stick together. I'm a big believer in women have to stick together, and we support each other through these things. And this is how we learn. This is how we get better. So thank you for having me. I hope this helps someone, and I hope this was a good use of your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sister Rini, also for
Thank you,
joining
Sister
us today.
Rini. Yes, I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. See you.
Great
Thank you.
talking with you.
You are listening to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation. As part of our youth series, we will be releasing new episodes every month, so make sure to continue to check those out. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we thank you so much for listening.